to confidentiality as a mental health provider, including life coaches. Yes, we're going to talk about that as well today, in addition to the crises in the DM. And so, my goal here is to provide you with factual information that comes directly from educational resources, the boards, including life coaching, credentialing, certifications, and we are not providing any type of personal opinions. We are also going to be doing case studies so that I can show you at the end exactly what this has looked like in my own clinical practice, how I have handled this across my career with different types of clients, especially even kids. When people see you in public and or when people get into your DM and what you're supposed to do about it. And so I want to be clear, this message, this podcast episode is actually both for the public and it's also for future and current mental health providers as well as coaches. And so I am going to be sharing my screen. I love to put things in the context of you can follow on the screen. It seems like I've received a lot of good feedback from my last few videos in terms of it feeling like a class because it feels really good to get to know what are the expectations for therapists. We're going to talk a little bit about coaches. And then also if you are seeking services from a coach and or a mental health provider, what are your expectations in terms of how you are supposed to be treated? Okay, so yeah, real expert, get them, sis. I'm here, right? So let me go ahead and get things set up. And if y'all new here, I love for y'all to talk back to me. And so as I'm talking, y'all better talk back to each other in the comment box. I have my like 2 comment boxes up. And so let me know where you're tuning in from while I go ahead and get the screens set up. And we're going to go ahead and share the screen and get ready. So if you want to go ahead and get your pen and paper out just in case you want to share these notes with someone else, then by all means, go ahead and do the business. Okay. So let me choose the window and I'm going to put me like right here on the side. All right. Y'all ready? Y'all ready? Y'all ready? Cool, cool, cool. Okay. So let's talk about confidentiality, crisis in the DMs, and Miss Bryant. Let's talk about this situation explained. And so, giving you some context, I don't watch a lot of these videos, but this particular topic has definitely just woke up the mental health community. And it's a very good thing because we need to speak up so that we can also share with the public what is and what is not ethical, integral, all the things in between. And so we are going to be talking about what does the DM look like or should not look like in terms of protecting your privacy. I will also be sharing specific therapist ethical conduct, but also what it looks like to be integral, whether you're a therapist or not, when someone is seeking out services and what you as the public or providers need to know. So to give some context, my husband first was watching Club Shay Shay and he was like, hey, you should see this clip. And so we actually watched the whole like thing together or whatever. And what I recall from what I watched and rewinded multiple times was that when the conversation somehow came up about Offset, but celebrity, someone of big status, came into the DM of Miss Bryant, right? Is that the response was something like, I don't think he was trying to get at me, but I feel like it was, this is my opinion. I feel like it was patted down but also psychologically, clinically as, you know, maybe she don't want to say the wrong thing because technically we as any type of provider providing a service should not be disclosing at any level who got into our DM. And even if you do not say that they got into your DM for services, it can still leave the public with, well, I wonder why they did get into her DM. Well, they're a provider, they're a coach. So I'm wondering what he want to talk about. You know what I'm saying? Like it just leaves too many questions. So if it leaves the public with too many questions, you probably shouldn't say it, especially if you ain't gonna give us all the tea. But if you give us all the tea, well, now we got a problem, right? So then last week, I was just scrolling through my YouTube feed and I happened to come across another unreleased portion of, you know, how we record these podcasts pre-recorded and then the editors choose what will and will not go into the public. And so what I saw, and then I rewinded it and I rewinded it. I showed it to my psychologist friend, showed it to my husband, rewinded it again. And the clip that I saw was the person had asked, well, pretty much what happened with the DM situation. And the statement that she said with her words, no editing, was This individual got into her DM because they were seeking services. I about threw my remote control at my TV because I'm like, okay, in the first one, you patted it down with that person wasn't getting at me, but you didn't allude to why they got into your DM. So we are only left with the thought of, okay, they're seeking you for your services. But on a non-released episode, it is now coming out that that person, that at least you did tell someone else that that person was seeking services. So here's the thing. Even if that did not get aired, the mere fact that it came out of your mouth, correct me if I'm wrong, put a one in the chat box. We're going to act like this is a masterclass, okay? Correct me if I'm wrong. Even if it didn't make the air, you should still not say it. Because if you're saying it, that means you're telling on what is considered private information. Private information, okay? So before we get into the full educational piece, that was just the context, is just a disclaimer because it doesn't happen on, the family channel, YouTube, but it does seem to happen in these little clips on Instagram because people are just listening to 5 seconds of this whole thing. So just a disclaimer that I put on pretty much all of my educational videos is that this content here, this podcast, it is for educational purposes. It is for informational purposes only. Okay. It is not legal advice. I'm not even in the legal space. It does not constitute that we have a therapeutic relationship, or if you're a therapist, I am not your coach. Okay. So all references that I'm talking about comes from, I do my due diligence, from any type of California business and professional codes of ethics. I go for the American Psychological Code of Ethics because that's what I practice under as a licensed clinical psychologist in the state of California. We also pull information from the Board of Behavioral Sciences, other master's level like camped associations regarding how are we supposed to show up professionally in the public space. And again, I just pulled this information in, so I'm not making it up. Okay. And so this conversation is based on my clinical experience and personal experience of watching these videos, right? As a licensed clinical psychologist. Thank you for telling me I'm right. Okay. So why are we talking about this? Okay. So like I said, this person, Ms. Bryant, publicly acknowledged that the celebrity Offset reached out to her via DM, the second episode revealed, for services. She later confirmed that on somebody else's video podcast or whatnot. But the fact is it was out loud. It wasn't chopped up. It wasn't AI. Okay. So it was to the public, even if it was not aired. Even if she never offered her services for that person to become her client. The problem is that it still acknowledged what is considered a privacy violation. Everybody say privacy. I love my privacy, despite what's happening on meta platforms and all those things. I believe that you still enjoy your privacy. Otherwise, we wouldn't lock our doors for safety, right? So this opened up, at least for providers who practice ethically, a bigger conversation that provides information that I want to get to you as providers and to the public because you need to hear. And I am going to ride this wave while y'all are listening because somebody had asked me this in a previous podcast episode, like, why haven't we been having these conversations? And I'm like, we have been. We, meaning other mental health providers, we providers going out into public, agencies and having these conversations to the public with churches, whoever invites us in. The thing is, if we're not presenting it in a personality level that's going to feel like tea, people don't want to listen to me. Okay. So I'm glad that you're here. I'm glad that you're listening. And I'm going to keep talking while you have questions to educate you while you're listening. Okay. So let me get straight to the point. Nothing on something called social media. These are my words, right? Because people are like, why are these people saying these things? The fact of the matter is anything that became public knowledge or on a private page on a all caps social media platform has never been private. Never, ever, 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 ever. As soon as you upload your phone number, your email address, your things in there, they're asking you for the rights to even look at all your pictures. Look at all these apps every 90 days. Put a one in the comment box if y'all recognize that. Every 90 days or so, or every 6 months max, any app that you use to edit your pictures, Lightroom, all these things, Telegram, they will ask, do you give me permission to only use a select few of photos? And what happens? They only select like the first 3 pictures, right? Or you have to say allow all access. But when you do that, you really need to look up, what does that mean? When they get access to my pictures, what else are they getting access to? So I don't care if you have a personal page. You put it on a social media platform, which means that you're giving this platform the right to invade in your privacy. Okay. So that's first things first. Okay. So like I said, even though Meta recently made all these announcements, oh, the DM is not private, boo, it ain't never been private. I've been teaching this for a decade now to providers in terms of the DM has never, ever, ever been HIPAA compliant. Okay. It is not in our electronic charting records system as a way to communicate with prospective clients, write that down, or actual active clients. So a prospective client is a person who inquires about services, but you don't know if you can take them on. So I'm not your therapist yet until you sign documentation. Okay. But at the end of the day, social media has never been designed to hold your vulnerable moments, information, Pandora's box. So please remember that when you cursing somebody out in the DM, when you come up for people in the DM, or when you just asking somebody a simple question. There's nothing wrong with being in the DM. I talk to people in the DM. I send voice notes to therapists asking questions about my products or services in the DM. But if somebody starts talking personal, first of all, I don't do nothing therapy in the DM at all. And I'm going to show you how that's handled from a public and a provider perspective. But we don't ever do mental health things in the DM. It's just like general conversation where if it leaked, I honestly wouldn't care. Like that's how private I am. Okay. I will tell somebody, girl, text me. This is getting too deep. Whatever you're trying to tell me in this voice note, because we ain't talked in a little bit, even my friends, I'm like, you act like you ain't got my number. Please call me, FaceTime me, or text me. Okay. So the question becomes, why are therapists, counselors, coaches treating the DM like a intake process? Okay. So this is what the American Psychological Association says, not what I say. Okay. This is the ethical code. Now look at this. They do address prospective clients matter. Okay. So I know this doesn't officially apply to Miss Bryant because she, as we know, are not or can't produce a licensure, or she says she ain't licensed. But at the end of the day, I still want you to be informed. So confidentiality protections apply before I'm sorry, it's cut off. Formal relationship is established, which means that we expect, or you should expect from us, that we're going to hold your information private, even if I don't become your therapist. I shouldn't be going online saying, oh, girl, guess who hit me up today? I shouldn't be telling my husband, oh, guess who got in my DM today for services, whether you're a celebrity or just a regular Joe, you know what I'm saying? Or you're a celebrity in your own world. I shouldn't be sharing that information. The only people that should be sharing that information is a trainee to a supervisor in terms of this is the client intakes that I had today, right? So in digital environments, AKA social media platforms, including YouTube, in 2017, American Psychological Association, they updated some things that made it very clear that providers must, not might, must maintain client privacy in all, they put in all caps, electronic communications, including social media platforms. All, okay? Privacy by default. This is common sense. Psychologists, therapists, LCSW, social workers, marriage and family therapists, whatever you call yourself, under the scope of our ethical code as a licensed provider or trainee, you are expected to protect all private information across all contexts, not just a therapy room. So if I'm at a live event and somebody pulled me to the side and say, hey, I heard that you were talking about this from the stage. This is my situation. Do you have any referrals for me? I should not be going to tell the host about what this person told me on the side of the stage. You feel me? And so these should be common sense to people who are licensed, but they're not. Now, let's bring up that coaching situation. So we should all know by now that anybody can roll out of bed today and say that they're a life coach. Okay. That's just the world that we live in. There are no rules and regulations. If somebody says that they're a coach, you cannot report them to the board of psychology. So that was what I got a lot in terms of questions is, well, why can't y'all just report her? Well, they're not over her. So if we not paying them to protect other people that are not licensed, that would be just like telling the board of psychology that my cousin did something. Like my cousin doesn't matter to the board of psychology. I do. Okay. Because I chose to sign a ethical waiver saying that I will be responsible for X. Okay. So there are some, not just one, types of coaching certifications. Now, if you find someone that is a coach, you can actually ask them, are you credentialed in the coaching arena? Now, some coaches may not have a credential, but they may have a lot of extensive education. They may have gotten certifications, right? So there is one, for example, that is pretty huge, and it's called ICF, International Coaching Federation. Now, I am not in ICF. I just went to the website and looked up whatever moral code they have. Okay. So as of 2025, really recent, confidentiality, let's talk about Ms. Bryant, is defined broadly, not very specific like our boards, but still it's discussed. The ICF defines confidentiality as protecting, in all caps, any information obtained in or around, oh, they put it in all caps, the coaching relationship. So if someone got into someone's DM and sought out services because they're a coach, what this says is you're supposed to protect that person's name and all the information that they give you. Put a 1 in the comment box if you like. Boom. If y'all been here live, y'all already know I should have like a sound like boom. Now, can these people come after her? Not if she don't have a certification from them, but this is a standard that coaches should have or want to have so that they can certify themselves as a professional, not just I rolled out of bed and I became a coach because I got life experience. Life experience is great, but you probably should still get some skills under your belt beyond what you know, because you don't know what you don't know. That's the definition of ignorance. Okay. So it says that includes a DM inquiry. Okay. Prospective clients are included. Okay. Thank you for saying you are correct again. I love the chat box, y'all. So prospective clients are included. ICF standards explicitly reference prospective clients. Okay. The protection starts the moment someone reaches out. So the moment I get my phone and I send a message to a coach or a prospective therapist that I want to work with. And why do we do DM? Because it's simple. It's easy. We know as providers why people do it, because people don't want to do 3 steps to look you up, go to the link in the bio. We get that, but we still need you to go and do it because none of this stuff over here is private. Okay. So the moment someone reaches out is where privacy kicks in, not when a contract is signed. Okay. So all records and communications, let's talk about that. Coaches as well must maintain, store, and handle all paperwork, all electronic files, and communication between them and the client in a way that promotes safety, promotes confidentiality, security, and privacy. Put a 1 in the comment box if you're learning something, whether it applies to her or not. I'm here for educational purposes because there's nothing wrong with getting a coach. Where things have turned left in this day and age is that things look pretty online. They look easy and accessible because all I got to do is hop on somebody's Zoom calendar online. But we forget that we should be vetting coaches and therapists the way that we vet a dentist to work on our mouth, the way that we vet for people who want to do cosmetic surgery. We do all these research videos, TikTok, YouTube, talk to all these doctors. We scared of making the decision. We take a year to make the decision. But when it comes down to our well-being and our mental health, you mean to tell me all it takes is 1 hour podcast for us to sign up and give our whole life away to a person and hope that they don't tell our information on a back end non-aired video? Please. So I'm not saying it's our fault, meaning as people. But what I am saying is you need to also understand what you should be doing to protect your information. So let's talk about integrity versus ethics. Okay. These are not the same thing. So when it comes down to ethics, this is what we have to do. As soon as we say we want to be a psychologist and we become licensed, or a mental health provider that is licensed at a master's level, we are legally and professional obligated. There is no gray area. This is like the 10 commandments. These are your 10 commandments. If you step outside these zones, it's over for you. You're going to lose your license. You might get fined and you might go to jail. And depending on how many times you did it, we're going to also blast you on the news these days because we got social media. All these news places are on YouTube for free right now. So now you about to be the cover and the example. So what are you legally and professionally obligated to do? You may not be on a hook ethically if someone else, you may not be on a hook ethically if someone was never your client. So that's the thing. I want the public to understand when you reach out to a therapist, even if they tell you to get out of the DM, get on my calendar, and you still decide, because I've seen this happen with me, people will still send me paragraphs. Well, let me just tell you to see if you can help me. I will either choose to not respond or I'll just copy and paste the same response. If that gets out, somebody snapshots that like they don't want to talk to me. I'm not obligated to talk to you in the DM. I told you ethically what my responsibilities are. I am not your therapist. I've seen therapists go so far as, and it's probably because people don't understand boundaries in terms of how to get in contact with a provider for real, is I've seen providers put in their highlights FAQs, and every FAQ is one thing: do not DM me. Do not DM me. Like, it is very particular. And the public may be thinking that we're anal, we're assholes, excuse my language. But the reality of it is, at the end of the day, real providers are protecting you. Okay. So let's talk about integrity, because integrity is like a common sense internal thing. It's like our moral compass. And not everybody is integral. I don't care how celebrity status you are. I don't care how much money people have, how much clout people have. At the end of the day, not everybody's going to be integral that walks around you. Okay. So this is what you choose to do because you know it is right. So that means this person has to have a moral compass inside, like old school cartoons. I remember the angel and the devil. Like, that is our ego and super ego going at it. Like, what is right and what is wrong? And if something was wrong and we still did it, we should be able to have a moral compass and integrity to come back and correct it or apologize for it and then provide the right information. That's integrity. So this is also protecting the privacy of someone who came to you as a coach, as a provider, in confidence. Think about that, because it should be the standard. Think about it. Does this man hit her up in a comment under a video? No. Did the person take an extra step and click message? I want you to think about consciously how many steps someone has to take on social media to do particular things. So I always love like the blocking feature as an example. Someone will say, I didn't know I blocked you. Let me get this straight. You had to think about my actual name unless I popped up in your feed. You had to go and type in my name or go to my feed. Step 2. You had to go into a clickable button to then click a button that says block. That's like 2 steps. Then you have to retype in my name to maybe put block, and you didn't know that you blocked. I just want y'all to think about those steps. So for someone to DM someone privately because they don't want it publicly, and for someone to take that information and make it public, and people are asking us, why are we still talking about this 5 news cycles down the line? Well, it's because there is still a gap in the public knowledge of how you need to protect yourself. This isn't just for providers. It is for you, your partner, if you go to couple services, your children. Okay. So I'm going to split this up. It's for both parties, providers and people. So providers, therapists and coaches, here's what you do. Your action. This is what I used to teach all day long in CE workshops, continuing educational workshops for therapists. This is how I actually got my start in coaching, because this is where I would see all things go wrong, because I've been on Instagram since Instagram was iPhone only. When it first came out, when it was like the sepia tone, black and white tone, and all we did was post pictures. There was no video, there was no highlights, there was no reels, nothing. Okay. So when someone slides into your DM as a provider asking about services, this is what I want you to do. I first of all need you to work so hard to get them off the platform immediately, not after an exchange, immediately. Your first statement should be immediately to get them off, to click the link in your bio, to actually just give them the damn link. Okay. So do not open a story for them in the DM. Do not get them opening up like, well, tell me why you want to come to services so I can make sure you're a good match, and then I'll send you the link. No. To determine if you're a good match for my services, because I'm currently taking clients, please click the link below. I'm going to close out this conversation. Have a great day. Ain't nothing wrong with being blunt. You're protecting them. Number 2, like I said, send a link to your calendar or your consultation form, whatever it is, or the intake process. Nothing more. Don't add nothing else. Don't give them no tips. Nothing. Tell them what to do. Okay. Number 3, you can also these days go set up Instagram FAQs. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I'm not about to go over it. If you're in my coaching programs, you can ask me about it on a coaching call. But go to Instagram and there's a FAQ feature. You ain't got to turn on all the AI. But if somebody is brand new to your DM, I believe anybody should be able to do this actually. think about the common questions that someone is asking you, that you just want to get back to people quickly without having to even invest in like a mini chat or auto DM. So one of the prompts that you can actually put in is like, think about it like a question they would ask. Are you taking any new therapy clients? And what will happen is if I go to your DM and I've never DM'd you before, those three things, for example, will pop up immediately. I can click which one applies to me. So for me, I have one for therapy, I have one for coaching, and like I think that's it for right now. I may have a third one. But when someone clicks the therapy one, if I wasn't taking on clients, an automated reply would go. I don't need to do mini chat. An automated reply would say, currently or unfortunately, I'm not taking on any new clients. And then you can go as far as even telling them how to go find a provider. I would highly encourage you to check out the links below. These are platforms, whether you are private pay, out of pocket, or insurance, you can search and shop for a therapist. I would go that at like for me, that when I was creating these slides, I'm like, ooh, I need to go add that, right? That's super good, right? So you can set that up. Do not confirm, do not deny, do not discuss whether someone reached out to you for services ever. I don't care who asked you. I don't care if Jesus on the cross asked you. Do not tell nobody. It is confidential for a reason. Again, the only disclaimer would be someone who's in training and they are under supervision. They need to oversee every contact. That makes sense. But once you become licensed, it's on you, right? So sorry for the stuff getting cut off. My font was too big. So for the public, I want you to know your rights. Okay. So if you are a person seeking services, here's what you need to know. And I want the public, first of all, for the therapist, put a one in the comment box if you learned something or something you need to refresh on your slide. For the public, I want you to put a 2 in the chat box so I can know who's who. Put a 2 in the chat box if you're going to learn something from this. So you have the right as a public citizen to reach out privately and have that contact protected. Meaning you should not have to double think and can't sleep to hope that somebody ain't gonna tell your information, especially based on your status, because we're all famous in our own way, right? Even before you become a client, meaning as a prospective client, okay? So a provider seeing your name in a DM does not, please note, make you their client. Don't use the words, oh, here go my therapist. Like I could be doing these videos all day long on mental health. Don't go around telling people I'm your psychologist. Don't go tell people I'm your therapist. I am Dr. TK and I am an educator and a psychologist online. Okay. So, but it still does not give them the right to share that you reached out. So if you choose to still reach out via DM, because maybe you're in a state of, I just need a therapist real quick because you forgot everything we talked about, don't get mad when they tell you to go to the link or they give you a link. Don't feel like, oh my God, they gatekeeping. No, we're trying to protect you. Okay. But we're not your therapist just because you reach out. There needs to be an agreement. A consultation, like we get on a phone call, a video phone call, maybe for 15 minutes. That does not mean you're in treatment. That does not mean I'm your therapist. That does not mean I'm going to see you next Wednesday. Therapy actually begins when forms are signed and care is agreed upon. And then I do an intake because some people fill out the forms and then ghost the therapist. They never show up. So if that's the case, and then I reach out to you 2 or 3 times because you filled out the forms, but you ain't showing up for the session, you're not getting back to me, I'm going to send you a nice message through however we sent the paperwork, HIPAA compliant, that lets you know I'm going to have to close your case because I've reached out on 1, 2, 3 dates. I am a receipts girl. My clients know it for therapy. My students know it in my coaching programs and when I used to teach. And pretty much anybody who knows me knows I am a quality assurance, which means I am all about them receipts. I have a memory that is what's called a episodic memory. So what is episodic memory? Because my husband probably dislikes it. I and my son has it as well. I am really good at visualizing what happened like a story, which makes me a good storyteller and a good teacher when I teach. Because I can tell you a story and hell make you feel like you was back there. And so my husband would be like, how do you remember what happened in 2014? Because a lot of things that happen for me are stories. I'm a Barbie girl. Like everything is like a movie, right? So that also makes me very good at therapy because I remember what you said. So you can vet your provider, meaning you can question them, not challenge them unless you feel like you need to, but you can, for example, what I would encourage, watch their content, see how they teach and just freely talk. Those are 2 different things. So the reason why, for example, I have slides when I'm trying to teach or when I'm teaching is because I need to make sure I hit these points. But there are plenty of live streams where I ain't got no slides. I might got a tab on my phone and I'm just shooting the breeze because people have asked questions and it's just FAQ. Let's just talk. Okay. You have a right to check their credentials. You have a right to ask questions. That is your job. If a provider exposes that you sought out services, even if you did not agree to see them without your consent, like written consent, that you gave them permission to say they're your client, which I don't believe most therapists would ever do that anyway. They shouldn't, even if you gave them permission. Our ethical code should also be, we can't even seek out testimonials until we're done with therapy. So my husband asked me this yesterday when I was deciding to do this. He said, so what would happen if someone went online and said that you were their therapist? And I'm like, well, let's do a little story time. Okay. So let me take this down for a little bit. Okay. So this actually happened. I'm going to embed this so y'all can see what this looks like. So at one point in my career, see, this is how you de-identify information. You don't say in 2022, right? At some point in my career, I've had people go on social media and tag me. I have a public profile. They tag me. Now, situations have made it different because these individuals have told me that they're going to do it or that they have done it. But I see the tag and then, I don't follow my clients, but I see it because their picture is there, right? Now, my husband said, well, what would you do? Would you tell them that they can't do it? I can't tell you what to do or not put on your social media profile. But the real question is, will I bring it up? And the answer is yes. I will talk about it, not in your DM, not under the post. I'm not going to like the post. I'm not even going to comment under the post. But you will know that I acknowledge and that I'm proud for you for being a mental health advocate, because depending on how you wrote it, most people are writing it in a very, not clout for me, but in a very advocacy way. Like, let me tell y'all what I'm learning in my mental health, right? And I think that that is pretty phenomenal because people, especially people of color, we still stigmatize in terms of going to see a therapist. I don't care what we put online, right? So we take a lot of precaution. So I told my husband in so many words, this is what I don't do. And he was like, well, you leave that person hanging? And I'm like, no, during the next session, I will let them know I saw the post. I will say, thank you for shouting me out, speak regular language. But let me explain to you why I don't comment. And they were like, oh, it's cool. It's cool. I want you to comment. I'm like, but this is my ethical and integral situation. Even though you've acknowledged me as your therapist, I still just feel like I need to protect you all around like a bubble. So I'd rather tell you and we talk about why that was important for you. I'd rather talk to you about what that was able to do for you in terms of you being able to educate other people about mental health and encourage other people to seek mental health. But if the person does say, well, I really wanted you to comment, well, then now we actually in a therapy session for real, because I would then talk about with them, why is that important for you that I acknowledge you on a social media platform? Y'all got me? Okay. So, all right, let's get back to it. So let's see. So let me go over to the comments. I would tell Jesus, but no one else. We talk to the man in our prayers, you feel me? But y'all get what I'm saying, right? So someone says, we carry malpractice insurance for a reason, and some add for when they add coaching because our licensing board does not care, right? And that's why as providers, you really got to be careful. I actually encourage all providers to definitely get certified if they want to go over into life coaching, just because you don't want, any funny business or whatnot. Okay. So let's talk about, I'm gonna move myself down to the bottom so that y'all could it don't matter. Okay, there we go. All right. So there is a great line. Okay. I want to be clear about that because we're talking about therapy and coaching. So as providers, we are responsible for understanding our ethical code. Okay. But not every ethical violation, because this is a lot of questions that I got, is illegal. Like I can't call the police, right? Like, what are they gonna do? Like nobody is reporting harm. And if they are, they need to make a report. Hint, hint. Okay. So not every ethical violation is illegal. Some things are just flat out wrong. And I know that that's hard to accept because some people want people to be penalized. I'm here to educate. This is coming straight from the book. Okay. So acknowledging, this is how we can fix this. Acknowledging out loud that someone sought out services, even on a public podcast, and then laughing about it. Ha ha, kiki, right? Even if they were never your clients, because they were a prospective client in our field, still puts the person at risk. Okay. People seeking out services from a therapist or a coach I know that you want and need to feel safe. When I'm looking for a provider for medical or mental health, I want to feel safe. I want to know, even within my circle and my little familiarity around other therapists, I want to know that if I wanted to go to therapy to be preventative or to work out some stuff, I want to know that another therapist is not going to see me, look me up, because this has been my paranoia. I'm going to be transparent with y'all. My paranoia is somebody look me up and then they start talking, but because y'all friends and y'all don't talk in public, I don't want my information out there. So I get where the paranoia comes from. And this is on top of me being a Black woman from Compton. You see what I'm saying? So therapists, I'm putting it out there for you, speaking from a woman and a professional, is that other professionals, because of the way that some therapists are choosing to show up online, to show up in these Facebook groups. If I could preach for a little bit, I've had to get out of therapist Facebook group because I'm like, God damn, like, why are we having these discussions in a Facebook group? If you really need to have a consultation group about mental health services that you're providing, because I get it, we're licensed, therefore we don't have supervisors, create a confidentiality clause in a consultation group. I don't care if it's free on Zoom with 8 therapists, not 30, and figure out a way to professionally consult about your cases and still de-identify clients' information. But why are we talking about this in Facebook groups? Why are we posting videos dancing with our clients? I don't give a damn. And you can tell them I said it. I don't give a damn about us putting a clown face or a block on the client. I don't care about us keeping it real for the culture. I'm from the culture. And I'm here to tell you, it's not a client's job to tell us what we should or should not be doing, things that are right or wrong. It's ethical and it's integral. It is within integrity that we should not be posting videos of us dancing with our clients. If they want to video us that bad, because you're not about to be on my phone. You ain't about to be in my cloud. My kids get my phone. You feel me? Your phones get hacked. Your phones get lost. Okay. So there's no way that even if let's just say a teenager said, oh, Dr. TK, like I seen this dance. I've had little kids do that. Like back in the day, Soldier Boy and all that stuff. Like, can we dance? And then I'll do the testing. I had a little girl do that. Like, if you dance with me, I do the test. And I'm like, well, fuck that. Let's do the Soldier Boy, little girl. You know what I'm saying? And then she did the test. But I didn't pull out my phone. Everything doesn't need to be a social media moment. Okay. And so how do you handle that? Again, if somebody is telling me that it's that important that they need to be on social media dancing with me as their therapist, and they feel like disrespected if I don't do it, we actually have a bigger problem. Again, correct me if I'm wrong, because therapeutically, now I'm starting to wonder, what is it about you internally that feels like you need to have other people see you in therapy? Why is that important to you? Well, I want to advocate for mental health. Well, pick up the phone and make a video of talking about your experience in mental health. I don't need to be in a video with you. That's just my personal opinion. Integrating ethics and integrity. All right. So people need to feel safe when they reach out. And then, of course, kind of like what I just said, the ripple effect from this situation is so big because we're talking about the public and the providers. Okay. So the ripple effect of exposing prospective clients is real. And it does not matter if it was funny on the podcast. I know that podcasts are entertaining. And see, this is where we have to also hold, or whoever schedules people for these shows. I really hope that this has woke up that you need to vet your people as well. You need to check credentials. If somebody's on there talking about they got 8 degrees and they got have something to be uploadable. You feel me? Like something needs to be confirmed. Okay. So somebody says, you are not to befriend me on social media as a client. You can consume my social media, which is all public. Exactly. That's why our page is public. So you can consume it, not so that we can be friends. Okay. And it's for protection. Okay. So on a scale of 1 to 10, before I get into these case studies, 10 is you enjoyed thoroughly the simple information that I provided. And 1 is maybe you just here for the tea. I don't know. You want to hang out with me. All right. So, all right. So I'm going to go over some mini case studies. Now, these just so happen to be the ones that popped up because these are comical when you look back on them. More storytelling time, but it was educational. So I have a few. So one of them that stands out, because I'm a Black woman of year, I go get my hair done. Okay. I'm letting my hair breathe right now. So, back in the day, we used to go to shops with multiple people in it. And we used to sit there, ladies and gents, for like an hour, just chopping it up with people in the shop, in the neighborhoods that we grew up in. At least that was my story in Compton. And you see people you ain't seen in a long time. So you don't mind waiting to get your hair done. Low key, you do mind, but you don't. Right. So I remember in this one particular situation, my context was I was working at a juvenile facility. So I've worked in juvenile camps, which is when they're sentenced. I've worked in juvenile halls where they're waiting to be sentenced or they're serving out their time for house arrest violation or whatever. And then I've done some overtime in LA County at Twin Towers in the intake assessment unit. That within itself is a whole nother podcast episode. Okay. But I've worked in all levels of juvenile justice, including when they come home through aftercare, reintegration back into their community. Then I've also worked in various nonprofits where I've served people through workshops and through some intakes and mild mental health therapy, meaning no in-depth work. I refer them out is because they need long-term care. Is I've done a lot of PTSD in the hood, like workshops on trauma growing up in South Central Compton, LA, Watts, whatever. So I've had my fair share of thousands of individuals. Okay. And so one situation that pops up is prospective client. When I was working in the camp, in any given camp unit, there can be up to 110 boys, but there was an average of 60, two sides. And it was typically, when I worked there, a rotation of about 8 therapists once I got hired, because there was a hiring situation as well with a lawsuit. There was not enough therapists for all these kids, one therapist per 60 kids. Oh my gosh. So they hired about 30 of us and 8 of us went into these units. So we worked 4 10-hour shifts. And there were times where sometimes if we were done with our work, I believe that I don't care if you're incarcerated, you're still a child, right? I don't know how many of you know kids who got caught up, they made bad decisions, or they were around the wrong people at the wrong time. They Black or brown, they got caught up, they go to jail. That's just the economy or world that we live in. So regardless of that, I want to show these kids that they are kids, okay? Because these are hardcore industry gang members. 90% of them are from a gang. Okay. And so probation, at first they were kind of standoffish, but then when they got to know me as a person, not just a psychologist, they realized that my heart was bigger than the work, like the title. Okay. So I taught them how to play, because some of them don't know how to play. This is sad. I taught them how to play charades, Family Feud. We would have real discussions around how do you protect yourself so you don't have to become a teen dad. Situations that unfortunately people aren't having conversations with them. I've worked at plenty of high schools. These conversations with parents are not being had. So speed things up. I clearly have people that I know in terms of kids in the jail that are not my clients. So I'm at the hair shop. The person who do my hair, anybody who around me when I used to go out, they know I am not Dr. Jackson in these streets. I am Takesha, or TK. If anybody says the word Dr. Jackson, I know that that is somebody from a particular institution, because I have different associations with my name when I'm at certain places of work. Like right now is Dr. TK, but anybody who says Dr. Jackson, I know they are from a jail. Like that's just what it is. So I'm sitting there in the summer. I don't do the whole, excuse my language, booty shorts, but I have on shorts, but they don't come to my knees, if you get me, right? So I have like an afro. I just came from out of the dryer. In the back, you have the barber. He got like, I'm about to say the N word, but he got 10 of the homies like in the back, right? Just chopping it up. Gang members and all. And then you got people waiting on to get their hair done, plus other people. So I'm sitting there under the dryer and I feel somebody looking at me, right? And I'm like, why do I feel like somebody's sitting? So I lock eyes, and this has always happened. You lock eyes with a kid that you know or an adult. And depending on if you had a conversation with them about, if I see you in public, what can I do? What can I do? What will I do? You don't know what to do in that moment, right? And sometimes they forget what the rules were, okay? Now, also to keep in mind, when I see these kids, they look like a completely different person, including the men that come out of the jail, if I ever run into them in the streets, because LA is big, but Black people cross paths all the time. I don't know sometimes what they look like for real, because they don't get their hair cut in jail. They look grimy. They don't care. They like, I dress when I go home. So the kid made the initiation. And by this point, I think he's probably 18 or 19. But he makes the initiation and he was like, is your name doctor? And he couldn't remember. So he was like, did you used to work in camp so and so? And I was like, yes. And I knew he was not my client, but he used to play games with us. This is a prime example of privacy. Now, it would be wrong of me to go home and say to people who live in my home, oh, I just saw minor so and so, because that was their name. That would be inappropriate. And somebody could say, well, that wasn't your client. It doesn't matter. Even my beautician was like, was that one of your kids in the jail? And I just looked at her, and then she looked at me, and she knew I'm not talking about it. Right. That's a given. So also, as a provider, I make sure that people around me know my rules and regulations and boundaries. You're not about to put me outside. Right. So that was one situation. Right. But at the end of the day, he asked me how I was doing. I asked how he was doing. I asked him, was he in college, whatever the case may be, based off the little bit that I knew about him. And we kept it pushing. Now, let me go backward, like almost a decade prior. I was working in Richmond and Kennedy High in Northern California. Okay. And my first year in my practicum, that's a baby internship in my doctoral program, we get placed in schools back then. And I was placed in a high school, and every Friday, because I was in grad school, I really didn't have anything to do with my life kind of thing outside of school, is PS. Sorry, somebody was laughing in the chat box. The reason why I was freaking out, y'all, because I had on the shorts. That's why I made that reference, because it made me think like, damn, you need to always be dressed appropriately. Y'all know why I leaned in with that Jeezy picture. You feel me? All right. Like see-through dresses. Nah. You could be single and live your best life and wear a bikini on the yacht, because that's what you're supposed to do. But I'm not wearing a bikini to a black tie event. All right. Keep it pushing. So rewind. I had not started having conversations with clients about what would happen when I see you in public. Okay. And it's funny. Supervisors, if they have not had the situation, they actually don't even have these conversations with supervisees. Okay. So I do, because of my experience. And so every Friday I would go to the movies in the Bay. That was my field trip gift to myself outside of school and part-time job. And I noticed that I kept running into the same kid. One time he was with his family. One time he was with his little boo thing. And every week for 3 weeks straight, we would lock eyes, and you can tell we didn't know what to say. Because I don't want to be disrespectful, because I see you. And so I don't want him to feel disrespected, but I didn't even know back then how to bring it up in session. So fast forward, after the third session, I'm just like, I got to say something. So he came in, and it was that Monday. And it was funny because every week we would say, how was your weekend? How was your weekend? And we would be like, oh, it's cool. I saw a movie so-and-so. Oh, so did I. As though we just didn't see each other. So I decided to bring it up. And I said, do you go to the movies every Friday? He was like, kind of. I said, do you go to that theater every Friday? He was like, yeah. So one way I could avoid this is just go to another theater. But that doesn't mean I'm going to avoid every single actual client, right? So I said, how did you feel when you saw me in public, like the first time? And he was like, 14-year-old boy. It felt a little weird, And I said, why did it feel weird? My job is to see what he's thinking first before I say mine. And he was like, I wanted to say hi. And sometimes you'll be by yourself. Sometimes you will be with somebody. But I didn't know if it was okay for me to say hi. And I said, well, would it be okay for me to say hi? He was like, I want you to say hi. And I said, well, I wouldn't know, because you look uncomfortable too. So we laughed. And ultimately what came out of that is I started creating a statement in all of my intakes with children and adults, because especially if you live in close proximity to where you deliver services. And that's why some therapists move 2 cities over, because they don't want to run into their clients. But these days you can run into your client online. So I typically will ask people, especially when I know I hang out or I go to the mall or I get my hair done, because I'm doing an intake. I hear everything you telling me about what you do in your personal time. So I need to be creative and ask questions. And what I started asking all kids and adults is, if you see me in public, let me tell you what ethically I cannot do. And then we're going to talk about what integrity-wise, what you want me to do. So ethically, let's just say if I saw that kid, but he did not see me, ethically, I can't say nothing. Now, ethically, step 2, we lock eyes. Ethically, whether he's my client or past client, he needs to initiate the conversation first. Y'all follow? So for those of you who wonder when you see providers, therapists, why they ain't speaking to me? Oh my God, first of all, I probably didn't see you. Or second, you need to initiate the conversation. You do. I cannot. And this is why I want y'all to use common sense. So my whole family knows, let's just go back to then, right? Working in the jail, working at a high school. My whole family and everybody, my friends know I've worked in jails with kids. They also know on a personal level, I may got play brothers. I don't have biological brothers. People know I'm an only child from my mother, even though I have half siblings, like a sister, right? So if I'm walking outside and I walk up to a young man or they walk up to me and we start talking, my family, like that podcast episode, is automatically going to assume that there was a therapeutic relationship. Because why else would I be talking to a boy who looks 16? Like, they would know the people that go to my church. Y'all follow? Put a one in the comment box if y'all are understanding this and following this from a public side and a provider side, or if you're a clinician in training, start doing this. Okay. So this is another hack that I started to do. When I started running into these kids in the mall, okay, I started then adding on the clause. How would you feel if you saw me, I didn't see you, but you thought that I ignored you? And I remember the juvenile kids would say, I'd be pissed if I get out of jail and I see you and you ignore me. And so I was real curious. I'm like, so what would you do? Because shit, these kids in jail. I'm like, well, what would you do, sir? And I'm comical with them. I'm laughing. And they'd be like, shoot, I'll run up to you, miss. They call me miss. And I said, well, what would you do to me, sir? They name, what would you say? I'll be like, why the fuck you ain't talking to me? Like, and I'm like, okay. But what I'm trying to get at is, what is it doing for them inside? And what they want to do is they want to be acknowledged. And I'm like, just say that there. You ain't got to say all this shit. Like like one kid was hella extra, like, I'll hop on your car. And he didn't be here, hit my car. He was just like, I'm going to get your attention by any means necessary. But what that also told me is like, maybe we need to talk about how do you get proper attention? Because maybe the reason why you keep getting in trouble in jail is that you're seeking negative attention. And this is actually why probation know all your information, is because you're getting in trouble. Okay. And so at the end of the day, every time that I meet clients from the cities that I hang out in or have hung out in, or I got family in, I may run into you at the grocery store, at the movies, or at the mall. So I'm going to first seep out where you hang out at the weekend. I want to know. Right. But then I'm also going to ask you, like, if you run into me in public, again, this is what I can and cannot do. And so if you want to initiate a conversation, this is the third part. If you want to initiate saying hello, that's fine. But I'm just letting you know wherever I'm at, I'm probably going about my business. So I'm not going to open up a conversation. I may say how you're doing, but that's it. You know what I'm saying? So let me tell you this last situation. I wish I would stand up, but I ain't gonna do all that. Right. So some of y'all know the California, like Lakewood. Lakewood Mall used to be popping, right? Now it's like dry. So Lakewood Mall, I'm walking into from the inside of the mall into Forever 21, right? Just walking around. It may have been a day I was at my private practice, like down the street back in the day. So it was a young man that was my client from like years back, meaning I cannot remember his name, right? And he was with a young woman, right? Now, unfortunately, because of stereotypes, I don't look like a psychologist. I could be a professional, but I'm like this. I may have my hair down, long, not, but and when I'm out, I look presentable, but at the end of the day, people don't typically see me as a psychologist until I say it. They're just like, oh, she's professional, whatever. So I run into this kid and he stopped me. He was like, hey, I know you. And his face looked familiar, but again, he clean shaved. Hell, I know him, but I'm like, well, hell, what facility I know you from at this point, right? Because I'm like, it could be anywhere, or it could be county jail, And so he was like, have you worked in camp so-and-so? That's how they associate. And I'm like, yes. And then I remembered him, right? Now I didn't start, oh my God. No, I just said, how are you doing? Because then when I remember who he is after he says his name, that's when all the memories come back, that episodic memory. So I'm like, how are you doing? And he was like, good. Now I'm willing to stop the conversation at that point, but I'm noticing that there's an individual that's staring me all the way down. Like, that's why I said, I wish I could stand up. And so being the therapist and mama type that I am, because I was a mama bear to these kids in the jail, right? Is I said, hi, because he never said doctor, right? I said, hi. He said, miss. Hi, I'm Dr. Jackson. How are you? Now I'm thinking, because I said doctor, if you're dating the boy, I hope you know he got a history. So I hope by me saying doctor, that would have made some type of association, whether it's a pediatrician or something else. This girl proceeded to look up and down. So I say something, but not privacy wise, for him to like acknowledge where he know me from. And then he saw me, kept looking at her and like, you better address this little girl, right? Because I'm about to skedaddle. Like this girl ain't about to size me up like I'm trying to get at this young man. Girl, bye. And but again, assumption. So he says, "Oh, my bad, my bad. This is Dr. Jackson. She was a dope ass therapist. She used to work at camp so and so. Like, you know, we worked." He starts saying all this shit, and so I'm just like, "Well, I'm glad that you were better. I hope to never see you again." And the girl looks like, "What the hell?" So the reason why I say I hope to never see you again, if you can read between the lines, is that if I said that I worked in juvenile and I've worked in adult, unfortunately, at least in LA County, the statistics were, I haven't looked them up in 2026, seven, seven, 7 out of 10 kids will return to juvenile justice recidivism. They will return back to juvenile justice in 90 days or less. A certain percentage of these kids that have minor records will matriculate, graduate into the adult system. And I'm telling you, I know that because on my overtime day, I'm sitting here looking at the history of this kid. I recognize another kid's name, and I'm on a 2-side plexiglass at this point. County jail don't play that. Right? And so I'm just like, you were at camp so and so? And I'm telling him, I'm like, I was there too. And then he looked at me and he was fabricating some information, not knowing that I knew him. And I'm just like, sir, are you sure that that happened? And he was like, I ain't never been to juvenile. And I'm just like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm counting how many times this kid done went to camp. And I'm like, are you shitting me? But at the end of the day, that's what I mean by I hope to never see you again. Right. And so the minors who knew me or the adults who know me, they know that I say that with love, because if I see you, unless it's in public, you probably gonna see me in my actual professional capacity. That's not good. Right. Yeah. It I try to make light of these, but I want it to be teachable. And now y'all see how I teach classes. Because man, when I used to be on campus, I don't teach live no more, like colleges or whatever. I stopped in 20, like at the end of 2020. Because going back to campus, it just was not as organized as it used to be, and it wasn't the same. And so, but my classes were lit. Like I was often like to the dean or the chair of the programs. They were like, "Where is the evaluation? Let me tell y'all what I done learned in this lady class." Because to me, learning even about mental health should be fun. It should be comical. And I, as a provider, and you as a provider, should also be able to think about examples so that you can normalize how someone feels sometimes, because sometimes it's easier for someone to see the point when it's not about them, right? And so y'all see how I told them stories. I didn't say the age exactly of the kid. I didn't say exactly the ethnicity. I didn't say the facility name. Like we can still help you learn, right? Okay. So at the end of the day, our standard should be higher as providers for the public, and the public, your standards should be high in terms of whoever's treating you or servicing you, they should be operating within some type of at least moral and integral code. Okay. And so if y'all like this content, I'm telling y'all, like this just happened to come up because I saw that episode, but I am going to do the PTSD series still. I am also still going to be hosting Digital Product Summer School for Therapists. And so if you are a provider, make sure that you, I forgot to link it below this video, but it's in Instagram. Make sure that you sign up for the ebook masterclass. It's happening next Wednesday. There's a few Digital Product Summit things that are happening. I've already sent out email invitations, but I have plenty of podcast episodes, y'all, for providers, but for the public. If y'all want to know about how to navigate through this chaotic system, I can't answer questions about why insurance companies do what they do. I cannot tell you why all providers do not take insurance. Absolutely not. But you can probably guess why we don't all take insurance, because these insurance panels have lost their damn mind and they continue to cut accessibility and how to, compensate us by showing up to do the work, because most of the time we're getting compensated 75%, if y'all did not know, lower than our actual rate. But as a provider, when we want to serve, we will still carve out 5, 10 spots for what I call those low fee spots because we're still here to serve. But I need the public to understand because I don't believe that's y'all, but definitely I get it on social media. It's like people have a real hard time understanding that therapists don't want to be homeless either. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, why should we suffer and do everything for free to serve out of all the professions in the world? Why do we need to be broke? Like, I don't get it. And I'm saying this over and over again because it is just so interesting that as a culture, how we have adapted and adopted why service providers need to just give away all of our time for free. And I want you to really think about the back end part. We are holding and going to bed and going to our grave with all of your skeletons. That needs to be compensated. You see, but we're not supposed to compensate for it by telling it on a damn podcast. Okay. So let's see. Thank you so much. So I love your video. I'm so glad you know how to handle situations outside your career. Keep up the good work. Thank you so much. And keep looking young. I am, how old am I? 45. Right? I'm like, I'm 1980. So it's easy to understand my birthday if I just look at the year. And I'm a Virgo for those of y'all who wonder. So when it's September roll around, your girl having a party, like online. Okay. Let's see. When I used to work with kids, some would show up at my house because we're friends with my partner's kids. Yeah, some of these communities just get intertwined, right? That's just what it is. Some of us give back to communities that we once were, you know what I'm saying, or where we live. So no acknowledgement for me, even when they told, you know, their people, because that's what we're supposed to do. All right. Let me see. Oh, you already said that one. Yeah, we ain't about to be friend people online. So we still love y'all, but it's just certain things that ethically we should not do. And then someone says, then they act surprised when the conversation in the group was screenshot and they were reported to the board. Oh, okay. Oh. So let me say this in closing and subscribe. Y'all subscribe if y'all want to learn more. Okay. It is in grad school, the way that our professors would scare the heebie-bejeebies off of us, right, is that there used to be paper newspapers that would go out, I believe, every quarter from all of these professional affiliations. And on one of the pages or on the back of the magazine, it would have like an icon picture on Instagram, like the bubble. It would have circles of all of these people's pictures, names, license number, even if it may be inactive, and the charge. How did they violate the mental health code of conduct? So I tell clinicians, don't let you be the reason why we have a ethical code of conduct 100.5 when we at 100.4. I'm just making up a number, right? Because you never want to be, which is what's happening right now, but there is no code of conduct if you're not licensed. You never want to be the poster child for something that's negative. So while, like, you know, certain people's crew is like, you know, we getting publicity, my social media numbers have gone up, and that might be true. And this may give you opportunities that maybe you didn't otherwise have. It may give you a bigger platform, and that's cool for that person. I'm not here to drag the person to the mud. I'm simply here to educate people based on the situation at hand so that you can know that certain things that are happening in our online world, because everything right now is online, is not okay. Okay. So it's the lack of value for mental health. Mental health professionals are expected to do charity and volunteer. Exactly. And I believe I'm gonna throw in pastors, ministers, you know, and things like that. Now, I'm not saying that there are not any bad seeds, y'all. There are people who don't do good. Okay. But at the end of the day, one person, don't judge a book by its cover by one or two people. Okay. So the insurance companies will raise the rate upon request. Oh yeah. I've had my rates raised. That's what we teach in our community. We know that. Right. But not all therapists know that. So yes, you can ask for an increase in compensation. What I'm referring to though are new rules that are coming out. I don't know if y'all have seen them. I've seen them floating around line where some of these insurance companies are now also telling providers that they are no longer paying for sessions that go over 50 minutes. Some of y'all do real depth trauma work, and some of y'all don't get to the brink of the session until the 45th minute. The world that we live in right now is just so itty, itty, okay? Because it is not thinking about the well-being of the public. Some places are patting down pockets and not thinking about paying it forward so that our children can be well. Our college students can be well. Human beings that are going to work, putting our life on the line. When I say I'm putting my life on the line, I'm gonna talk about it in PTSD in the hood. Y'all have no idea, unless you've worked in it, what it feels like to have your office as a jail cell in the same aisle as the inmates. And the probation officers are like behind a locked door. I have a locked door, but I can't lock it because I need to keep it open for privacy reasons. I have a panic button by my chair. I have to sit by the door. Nobody knows what it feels like to choose to work with at-risk youth in Watts. And a kid tells you over lunch, because I want them to not eat bad food all the time. So we sometimes go to lunch, right? And a kid tells you while they're in your car and while they're laying down, when you're talking to them about what happened at school today, that there was a shootout that involved them yesterday, right there on that corner that you just busted a U-turn. Like, this is the stuff that somebody got to do it. And I'm happy that I did it. I'm happy that I transformed so many lives. I'm happy that I'm still transforming lives, even right now through education. But I'm just letting y'all know, like, there are a lot of professions in which, whether it be judges, because they make decisions on people's lives. You feel me? Jurors, we got to get called for jury duty. They ain't even letting us out no more. I thought that, saying I worked at the jail would let me out. You don't work no more because somebody might want me on their team. Anyways, there are a lot of things that we do and that we hold that people just don't understand. And we're not expecting you to understand our holdedness. But I'm just saying, give providers the benefit of the doubt that when we have a business or we're at a job and we want to take off, we need to self-care. We charge a particular amount because of the services and running a business. We're not trying to be broken and homeless. That's just what it is. Because I always tell the therapist in closing, y'all, I know I got to close this out, is you are out here changing people's whole ass lives. So why aren't you changing yours? Why aren't you practicing what you teach and preach to your clients? And if you have a good client, I've had very excellent clients. And one of my clients that was in the helping profession, not mine, but another one, he said, this is the last time I worked on Christmas, like leading up to Christmas, is he said, this was 10, 11 years ago. He said, I'm cool with meeting like after Christmas if you're available because of the day his session fell on. He said, but can I ask you a question? We've been working with my anxiety and me self-caring and taking time off. Why don't you take time off during the holidays? Don't you want to hang out with your family or just chill? Oh, that slapped me in the face, because what he did was flip the script. And he used what I told him all the time on myself. Do you know that was the first year that I did not work around but through the holidays? So yes, I do shut down my entire business, coaching and all. We set up our coaching clients, meaning not life coaching. I'm talking about business coaching and mentorship. We set up our clients. You better ask all these questions by December 1st. Because as of the week that leads into Christmas Eve, I will not be returning based off of when New Year's falls until that next Monday. So I may be off 2 weeks. I may be off 3, but that is needed for I'll call it the triple R, the reset, recharge, and just rest. Okay. So I pray and hope that y'all have a great rest of your week. I will be popping up doing more live streams right now. I'll be honest, I don't have a schedule. I am using my intuition to talk about things that are pertinent to what I see coming up online and then what I see questions coming in. So if you have additional topics that you want me to talk about, if it's appropriate, of course, because I'm not about to do a FAQ on your situation. I'm not the YouTube therapist. That's a dope name, but I'm not about to do therapy on YouTube. But I can continue to educate you on particular things related to mental health, and even how you can change your way of thinking. I can do all that. So don't forget the cost. Don't forget the cost it takes for us to become a therapist. Absolutely. All right, y'all. Y'all have a great rest of your week. If you see any posts from me, it'll more than likely be my summer series with streams of income plus vlogs, because I take y'all behind the scenes of me just being also a regular person. So y'all can get to know me a little bit better. All right, y'all, subscribe to the channel. Love y'all. Share this video with someone else in the profession or in the public. I will talk to y'all later. Have a great day. Bye.